Welcome to Mission Majjhima. Ajahn. Ajahn, so tell us about Majjhima Nikaya 53, the Sekha Sutta.
So this sutta, the disciple in higher training, is all about what it means to be, quote, impeccable in conduct and understanding. Vijjacharana sampanno. This is one of the epithets, the 9 epithets of the Buddha. So in this sutta, we find Ānanda talking about 15 aspects of impeccability in conduct. So the sutta begins in the Sakyan country in Kapilavatthu, which is the Buddha's home territory. So he's speaking to family, and there's a new hall which is built, and the Sakyans come and invite the Buddha to, before anyone else has inhabited it, for him to come and bless the space by speaking Dhamma in the space. So he consents in silence and then goes and sits in the middle of the hall. Then the Buddha gives an inspiring talk, encourages, rouses, and inspires the Sakyans. And then he says, Ānanda, my back is hurting. Will you continue giving a talk about the Sekha, one in higher training? And then the Buddha lies down, and it doesn't say how far off he is, but he folds his robe and then lies down on his right-hand side in the lion's posture with one leg on top of another. And this is also how the Buddha suggests one should sleep. And then Ānanda gives a talk about, again, these 15 types of impeccability in conduct. So they are, first is being perfected in or practicing virtue. The next 3 are what are called the apanaka dhammas, or the dhammas which are always right, and that is sense restraint, so using one's eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body in mind in a way which doesn't latch on to any aspect of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, which might give rise to greed, anger, and delusion. So knowing how to use the senses, sense restraint. The next of these apanaka dhammas which are always right, is moderation in eating. So we've got the meal formula, which we chant at monasteries, wisely reflecting I use alms food, not for fun, not for pleasure, not for fattening, not for beautification, etc. The third apanaka dhamma is devotion to wakefulness, that is spending one's days and nights in a way which are useful, purifying the mind from unwholesome mental states, and lying down in the middle watch of the night. And the first watch of the night and the last watch of the night, one continues to purify the mind from unwholesome mental states. So that's 4 aspects of body. And then the Ānanda praises 7 other beautiful qualities, which are faith, hiri and ottappa, which are conscience and a fear of wrongdoing, praises bahu sutta, or having learning, praises energy or effort, praises mindfulness, and praises wisdom. So that's 11 qualities, so 7 plus the 4, and then Ānanda talks about the 4 jhanas. And then he continues talking about the 3 aspects of what it means to be impeccable in insight. And he gives this simile of chicks, just as if there was a hen who was looking after 8 or 10 or 12 eggs, having incubated them well, sat on them well, looked after them. They wouldn't have to wish, may these chicks, may these eggs, the chicks pierce the shells and come out. So too, if one has practiced these first 15 aspects of right charna, or right action, including the 4 jhanas, then it will just naturally happen that there will be the piercing of the shell. And 3 piercings of the shell are impeccability of insight, which are 1, recollection of past lives, 2, insight into the arising and passing away of beings, and 3, knowledge of arahantship. So, and people listen, including Mahanama, which is one of the Ānanda's and the Buddha's cousins. Everyone delights. The Buddha gets up from his lying posture and praises this teaching on the higher training. And Ajahn, what would you like to draw out of this sutta?
I appreciate just the very simple beginning where the Buddha's back hurts, and it's just so humanizing to know the Buddha had a back that hurt, and sometimes it was bad enough that he would ask Venerable Ānanda to give the teachings in his stead. And these little moments in the discourses are, I think, quite precious, actually. Another thing to note is when we talk about vijjacharana, conduct and understanding, or understanding and conduct in that formulation, it roughly aligns with the Christian ideas of transcendence and immanence, conduct charana, these 15 qualities, the chicks kind of growing strong, and then vijja, those tevijja, the 3 insight knowledges that end in the knowledge of the ending of the effluence, of the asavas, of awakening. And this is transcendence. So the Buddha was perfect in these 2 realms, which is just a really kind of important note that, this whole concept of, say, crazy wisdom or something, it's not applicable in Buddhism. Like, perfection in knowledge is also accompanied by perfection in conduct. And yeah, just beautiful. The other thing to note that the progression of the virtue, sila, followed by the apanaka dhammas, and a special note on those 3 practices that are never wrong. The devotion to wakefulness is such a beautiful one because there isn't a clear metric for how much sleep each person should get. But this idea of jagarayana yoga, devotion, tying oneself to wakefulness, that should be your orientation. Even if you have to get more sleep sometimes, still always the intention is, can I have a sense of wakefulness and, lucidity of mind? And to note that those watches of the night in a time before clocks, I don't think they were exactly 4 hours apiece. Like, that middle watch could be longer. And, we've both seen monastics go a bit wrong with trying to sleep just 4 hours and getting quite weird. It can be done by certain practitioners, but not me. But yeah, just that point of how one should sleep, and that when one sets one's mind, that when one wakes up, one gets up. And that's a very core principle of the Thai force tradition, is when you wake up, you just get up. And if you need to go back to bed in half an hour, you can. But at least on retreat periods, that's a really useful principle to keep in mind. And Longpo Sumedho says that when it comes to waking up, don't let wisdom anywhere near it, in the sense that you can justify a lot when you're on, just have opened your eyes and kind of negotiating with yourself. Obviously, wisdom should actually be part of the decision once you've woken up. And then to note, the Buddha's focus on those list of charana, 15 qualities, they begin with sila, with this devotion to wakefulness, and then all these qualities of hiriyotapash, conscience and concern, to energy, to wisdom, and then they go to samadhi. And that's just really heartening for those in the modern world who may find themselves it very difficult to access unity of mind. That, for me, the Buddha, or Venerable Ānanda, is here saying, actually, the path can first progress through wisdom, through sila, and then these deeper states can occur. And Ajahn Chah would often say, certain people, it's like you have a very big house. It takes a lot longer to clean out, but eventually you've got a big house to live in. And that's like, people where samadhi can be hard to come by is, you're using wisdom at first, but once you've moved into these states, there's a big house to live in, so to speak. The final thing I just note is the focus on causes rather than results with the chicks hatching. That if one is practicing the 37 aids to awakening, the Bodhipakkhya Dhamma, a very core list, that one, even if one doesn't have the intention, my mind be liberated, that one's mind is nonetheless liberated. And there's a beautiful sutta in the connected discourses called the Ship, where the Buddha uses that same simile of the chicks hatching from an egg and accompanies it with another, and saying that even as someone using an adze might not know, today the adze, the handle of the adze became this much worn away and this much worn away. Even so, after a number of days, he looks and sees that the handle has been worn away so much. Even so, a practitioner would realize after time of practice that their defilements had been worn away. And similarly with the ship's rigging left out in the winter storms. So just this beautiful encouragement to look to the causes of our practice and trust that if we're there in line with the Buddha's teaching, that they'll lead to results. What's the word of the week?
The word of the week is saddha. Saddha, a very foundational word, which means faith. Also translated as trust or confidence, or I've even heard it radically translated as skill in doubt.
Ooh.
Because it's a very different thing than faith in Abrahamic religions. It really is, somewhat just bringing one's heart to a confidence. It's a working out of a intelligent working hypothesis that, okay, what I've learned of the Buddha's teachings or insights that I've had take me this far, and I'm going to keep going. Literally comes from the root da, which means to place, and sad can either mean the heart or true. So it's a true placing. It's a heart placing of something. So we all have to have faith and confidence in something. And this is the Dhamma, which the Buddha told us to put our sada in.
That's a beautiful etymology.
Yeah.